Well, to our viewers around the globe, this is Platform Media International Political Arena. My name is Joe Ehizode. Tonight we have with our studio a very, very prominent medical personnel in Nigeria who will be discussing the response of the Nigerian government to the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, you know that the COVID-19 pandemic has no boundaries. It is in Africa, Asia, Europe, and North America. His name is Dr. Japhet Olugbogi. He's the chairman of committee of COVID-19 of the Lagos State branch of Nigerian Medical Association. Dr. Japhet Olugbogi, welcome to the studios of Platform Media International, broadcasting from its headquarters in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Doctor?
And all the affiliates of the Nigerian Medical Association, including the Medical Guild, the private practitioners, the Resident Doctors Association, both the federal and the state government. So the Nigerian Medical Association has done a lot and it's doing a lot. They also provided a couple of hotlines for people to call when they need information on COVID-19 or when they need some sort of support on COVID-19. So there's a lot of effort on ground for people to actually be able to, get themselves aware and also protect themselves and also test themselves as well. But we need government to have sincerity of purpose. We need government to do more in providing PPEs for the teaming health workers, both private and public health workers, and also provide funds, enough funds to buy consumables, commodities in all the public hospitals so that people can prevent COVID-19 spread in their facilities by using detergents and all that. And they're using gloves and all that, PPEs and all that. Apart from that, individuals in the society need to have access to testing. We cannot overemphasize the power of testing. If we test, okay, for instance, when we are at the stage of lockdown, what we were doing was to prevent people from going out so that they won't catch the virus in the society. Now, when we released lockdown, when everybody is coming out, what we need to do is test, pick up those who are positive and isolate them, screen them, and keep them away from the general populace. But when we cannot test them, we cannot pick them away. When we cannot pick them away, then we cannot control the rapid transmission of the virus. So everybody goes through the market, everybody goes through the BRT. We don't know who and who is positive because of the symptomatic individuals. Or if you can test them, if people can wake up in the morning with sneezing or cough or shortness of breath and know that within 1 hour or 2 hours they can do their test and get their results, they'll be able to isolate themselves. At their offices can tell them, go back home, take 14 days and isolate yourself, and then prevent other colleagues in the office from getting the virus. So we cannot overemphasize the power of more testing.
Do you think there are positive signs that the testing or preventive measures will improve with time?
Well, that is yet to be seen. Well, the Lagos State government, for one, is trying as much as possible. They have had sincerity of purpose from day one, although whatever they have done, they can improve upon because health workers are still clamoring for insurance and the increased pay in hazard allowances for them. So in that regard, the state government can do more, and then they still need to provide more PPEs. So, but with the fact that they have empaneled about 7 private laboratories to join forces to provide testing for teeming Lagosians, they are improving in that wise. Or it will also be good if they can extend this sampling collection that is started with the local government, the 20 local governments in Lagos State. We're collecting samples at some point in time. I was one of the medical officers of health, also known as primary healthcare coordinators, who was a team lead in that wise. But that stopped because of lack of reagents, BTMs, extraction kits, and other commodities like that. So if they can kickstart this again, and so that people in any LGA can walk into their LGA center and get their samples collected, it will go a long way in helping, and then people can start believing again. And then apart from that, government itself, government officials alike, need to lead by example. They need to show sincerity. They need to show that what they are preaching, they are practicing. So with this, we hope that there should be some form of improvement in the fight against COVID-19 in Nigeria.
Is in your estimation, is the isolation center conducive, attractive? Because there's no need creating an isolation center that does not provide the necessary atmosphere for people to recover. Otherwise, people will avoid it, because we have also read that there are some people you put in isolation centers and they disappear because of the condition of the place. In Lagos State, for instance, where you reside, I know that the former Onikon Stadium have been turned to isolation centers. In your estimation, given your experience and years in the medical profession, does that place give the necessary recovery facilities for patients?
Yes, thank you. For Lagos State and in Lagos, the isolation center, in fact, we urge other states to emulate Lagos. You can give that to the Lagos State Governor and the Commissioner for Health. They have been very proactive and they have been on top of their games. The isolation centers, all the isolation centers in Lagos are conducive. I think, like you mentioned, there are some centers, there are some isolation centers in the country that are not worth the salt. But in Lagos, go from the mainland hospital in Yaba to Onikon, like you just mentioned, they are all newly renovated, most of them are newly constructed and built. So they have new facilities there. Now, what is left to be seen is whether they have enough ventilators to go around a number of patients that may come down with severity of cases. But those centers actually, they are conducive enough. I think this is one of the things that actually worked against us. It was supposed to be a good point, a good turning point, but I think it worked against us in the sense that when people were clamoring to see the inside of the isolation centers and they were fearing what actually lies behind the isolation centers, the government did a documentary showing the inside of the isolation centers. And when they did that documentary, the patients in there then were mostly youths, and they were mostly nearing their discharge dates, and they were singing and dancing, and the populace actually felt that, oh, are these the people you claim are sick? These people don't look sick to us. It looks like you just put them somewhere, you are feeding them, and you are paying them to deceive us that COVID-19 is real. So I think this had a ripple effect that tend to actually create some more disbelief. Although the fact that the isolation centers are conducive, that fact was established, but some people started disbelieving the sincerity of the level of infection of disease in those people in the isolation centers.
One question I want to ask you: if somebody tests positive, is it the case that the immediate is an immediate isolation, or there are some people that have to be quarantined in their houses or wherever? How do you approach that?
Yes, at the beginning of the response, the protocol was that anyone that tests positive will be taken to the isolation center immediately. Now, when the cases started surging up, we had some difficulties in logistics, in terms of space, in terms of vehicles, transportation, in terms of waiting time, results, releasing time, and all that. So the protocols was edited and reviewed such that it's only those who test positive with symptoms that will be taken to the isolation centers. And those who actually do not have symptoms will be advised to self-isolate at home, and then their tests will resume another time in a matter of about 10 to 12 days, because we found out that most of the people in the isolation centers usually get well between 10 to 12 days. So the turning over period is about 10 to 12 days. So those who are asymptomatic and not showing any symptoms, who test positive, advised to self-quarantine. Those who actually have symptoms will be picked up by the ambulance and taken to the isolation center. But at some point in time, there are too many people to be taken to the isolation center. So logistics problem arose, issues of delayed results arose, issues of delayed testing arose, issues of delayed pickups arose. Because before they actually picked up, there is a thematic area in the response, which comprises of psychologists and psychiatrists. These are the people that ought to call individuals whose results are positive first before they are being picked up to the isolation centers. So when result comes out from the lab gives the result to the psychosocial team, who calls the individuals who break the news to them and give them counsel in pronto, prepare them from being taken to the isolation center. Then afterwards, they pass their names and details to the evacuation team, which will visit them and pick them up. But for one reason or the other, some people get missing along the line. For the sake of this interview, I can categorically say that it's also one of the problems that the government faced during the response to the outbreak. Some people give false addresses because they don't want to go to the isolation center. Some people, when you want to go pick them up, they disappear. All of a sudden, you don't find them again. So they get lost in transition. So different challenges, logistics challenges from all phases of the response.
Doctor, we are running out of time. I just want to thank you and your team for the job you do, putting yourself on the line. And I also want to say very good job on the effort that you're putting up, especially your family. I'm sure you do have a young family, correct?
I do have 2 kids, 4 and 7. And it's scary coming back to them sometimes. It's even much better now. When the response was very, very high, coming back home was a big issue, because one would fear coming back to give the girls a virus that they never asked for, that can claim anyone's life. So it's a very scary situation. I have a young family.
I'll convey my best wishes to your family, and I can't thank them enough for allowing you to take this kind of risk. And you especially and your colleague, on behalf of Platform Media International Canada, we say thank you.
Thank you very much.
And viewers across the globe who are watching us, that's Dr. Japhet Olubogi, the chairman of committee of COVID-19, Lagos State branch of Nigeria Medical Association. Japhet, we're happy to have you and convey our best wishes to your colleague. Viewers who are watching, this is Platform Media International Political Arena. My name is Joe Ehizode, and I will ask you to join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We broadcast to that medium too. Join us. And on behalf of Dr. Olubogi, I want to say thank you to our viewers across the globe. And Doctor, have a good night, sir. And I wish when we call you again, you'll be responsible enough to show up in our studio.
Absolutely.
Promise? Thank you very much. And have a good night, sir. Goodbye from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Goodbye, Nigeria. And goodbye across the globe.